starting it now.
Are you going live right now?
Now,
Okay.
yeah. Starting it now. Okay, I think that we have gone live, so we will begin with the discussion on the proposed modified calendar for 2022-2023. Okay, we will begin with the discussion on the proposed modified calendar for 2022-2023. I apologize, I had to mute. I had my voice playing back on a delayed response on the YouTube channel. The recommendation was made to the school board at our meeting in March that we consider going to a modified calendar for the 2022-2023 school year. This was one of the calendar options that we looked at actually for next year, but based on the feedback that we had received, we went with the traditional calendar. Although there was a lot of interest about a modified calendar beyond next year. Everyone seemed to feel like going to a modified calendar next year would reduce the time of the summer break for this year, and that if there was ever a year we all needed some time off, it was this coming summer. So the board heard that, and they approved a more traditional calendar, and that has already been posted on our webpage. But we are taking a look at the modified calendar now. Let me pull up the modified calendar. Okay, can everyone see this? Okay, so what we are looking at with the modified calendar, and I'll just go through month by month and talk about some of the points. We would teachers would return the last week of July. Students would return the first full week of August. These 5 days in July, the 5 work days would be, you would start off with a work day. Then we would have a work day or open house for elementary or secondary. These aren't set in stone. This is, keep in mind, this is just what it could be. The next day would be a work day or an open house for secondary, professional development day, and it would be the week would end with convocation that morning and a half-day work day Friday afternoon to get ready for students to return. Students would return on August 1st. We, based on what we did this year and found to be very successful, we would start pre-K and kindergarten with 25% attendance for each of those first 4 days, and then try to get them all in one day that week. And that gives you a day with just a small group, the kindergarten and pre-K teachers with a small group to work through learning where everything is and some of the classroom procedures. September would be a full month of school, minus September 5th, which would be Labor Day. And the 9 weeks would end on September 30th. We would go into the week of October 3rd. That would be the intersession week. And during the week of October 3rd through October 7th, we would have a work day. There would be a day for parent-teacher conferences. There would be 2 student intersession days, and there would be a professional development day. The intersession days, we would have a lot of flexibility with what we would do with those 2 days. If a class wanted to do an overnight field trip, that would be a good opportunity to do that. If teachers wanted to, I thought about this more along the lines of, how we did elementary clubs. So you could plan activities based around a certain club and invite students in. The days would be optional for students. We would create opportunities for them to come in and create opportunities for them to engage with teachers or club sponsors, or we could look at having coaches put on athletic clinics for younger students and maybe get some of the high school students to help out with those on intersession days. I think the possibilities are endless, and we're not locked into any one plan on that. If we go with this calendar, it would open itself up for discussion, and we would be able to exercise some flexibility on how those intersession days worked. And then we would follow that with a professional development day. That would be followed by a week off for all teachers and students. 11 and 12-month employees would still work the week of October 10th through the 14th. And then we would return on October 17th to start the second 9 weeks. And November 8th would be Election Day. The week of November 20th, Thanksgiving week, would also be a week off for all teachers and students. Typically, when you schedule an intersession, it's a 3-week period, or intersession and breaks. They run in 3-week blocks. But because this one was so close to Thanksgiving, and some of the people who gave us feedback liked the idea of having the full week of Thanksgiving off. If they moved here from out of state, it gives them a chance to go home and visit with family over the Thanksgiving break that they may not get to take if it's just a 3-day break. So we decided to put the week, give all teachers and students the full week of Thanksgiving off. The 11 and 12-month employees would still have to work Monday and Tuesday unless they wanted to take vacation or personal leave to be off those days. Then we would return on the 28th and go to December 20th. That would be the last day for students. Teachers and faculty and staff would have a work day on the 21st, and that would be the time to get grades finalized and get that stuff get things submitted to wrap up for the first semester, and also have the afternoon for any type of going out for lunch or whatever school climate teams might want to sponsor for the faculties and staff. Then teachers would be off starting the 22nd. 11 and 12-month employees would still need to work the 22nd and 23rd. Everyone would be off from the 26th through January 6th. We would return on the 9th with a work day. And then the second semester would start on January 10th, with the 16th being a holiday. And we come down to March 17th as the last day of the 9 weeks. And we would go into our next intersession, and it would be set up similar to the first semester. We would have a work day, parent-teacher conferences, 2 intersession days, and a professional development day. And that would be followed by a 2-week spring break for all faculty and staff. It just so happened that this year it butts up well with the Easter holidays that we typically have. So it would actually end up being 3 weeks plus 1 day for students and 2 weeks plus 1 day for faculty and staff. And then we would return, and we'd be off May 29th. The last day for students then would be June 15th. Teachers would have a work day on the 16th, and then summer break would begin, and 11 and 12-month employees would still be coming in during that time. So some of the advantages for the modified or balanced calendar: it lessens the summer learning loss for students, for student retention and knowledge of skills, and that it's estimated that learning loss would be 50% less on a modified or balanced calendar than it is on a traditional calendar. We have shorter but more frequent breaks, which lessens the likelihood of students experiencing prolonged periods of food insecurity. It's still an issue we would have to deal with. We have, more than half of our kids live in poverty. Food insecurity is extremely real, but it decreases the length of time that they would be living through periods of food insecurity. Multiple breaks during the school year provide for enrichment programs, so not everything has to be done during the summer. Those 2-week or the 1-week break in October and the week after the intersession in the spring would be time when we could pull students in, and teachers who want to work that time, similar to how we do summer school, we would employ them to come in during that time and offer remediation or enrichment programs, but it wouldn't be required. It would be for those who want to make extra money during the year and maybe don't have plans to go out of town or do anything on those breaks. We see this as a way of offering intermittent remediation throughout the year and intermittent support when the students need it more than trying to cram it all in the summer after they've had months and months of not being successful. So I think it's a better model for offering remediation and intervention type of programs. Internship hours for CTE courses can be scheduled during intersession breaks, and this is huge for the high school students who are working on some type of industry credential. As it is now, they have to try to get in 40 or 80 hours of internship, and that becomes difficult to do when you can only do it an hour, hour and a half a day. This would give them, basically 2 weeks each semester that they could schedule to go into work in a nursing home or whatever their internship requirement may be. They could get all or most of their internship hours in during the intersession breaks. Teachers have work days when they are needed most. You've got a break at the end of each grading period and work days in there to get things finalized and get them submitted. And it would be not as high pressured, I think, as what we currently experience at the end of each grading periods. Frequent breaks during the year have shown to decrease the stress levels of students and teachers. Overnight field trips could be coordinated. We talked about that on intersession days. So students aren't missing days in other classes. If, let's say, at the middle school, they're taking an overnight trip for social studies to DC, then they aren't, if they do that on an intersession, during the intersession break on those 2 days, then they aren't missing math and English class during the school year for a couple of days to go on those type of trips. It gives families more options for scheduling vacations. Every year I'm sure all of you have had it at one point or another in your career, parents who pull their kids out of school for a week or 2 weeks to take them on a cruise because the rates are so much cheaper in the late fall or early spring. And it just gives them more opportunities to do things like that, to take advantage of better rates. A lot of people don't like to go to the beach in the summer when it's hot and crowded. They would rather go, early October when it's still warm enough to enjoy the outside, but not blistering hot. So it just creates more flexibility for those type trips for families. The breaks each season allow time for students to participate in activities that aren't available in the summer. You've got time off in the fall for those who like to hunt, time off in the spring for those who like to trout fish, or it's early enough in the spring that some of the ski resorts may still be open. If they like to go on family trips to do those type things, there would be opportunities to do that without missing instructional time. And appointments can be scheduled during intersession breaks instead of during instructional days. Okay, the disadvantages of the modified calendar are that there are childcare concerns for the intersession breaks. That's a legitimate concern, and it's something we would have to work through. Our community summer programs would have less time to operate, like 4-H camps and some of the camps at Randolph Park. They would not operate for as long a period of time as they currently do. There would be fewer summer employment opportunities for students and teachers. Scheduling issues for extracurricular programs. You would have breaks during the year when athletic seasons would be in full swing. So how would that impact things? Students moving into the district during the school year would likely be behind Pulaski County Public Schools students because we would be starting probably about 2.5, 3 weeks earlier on average than any of the neighboring divisions, unless they adopt a similar model. And there are others in our region who are taking a look at this currently. And achieving community buy-in can be a challenge. Just like anything, change is tough. It's hard to see the big picture when it might impact you in a way that is not you personally, in a way that's not favorable. So trying to get the community buy-in would be one of the challenges we would have to overcome. Okay, I'm sure some of you have heard some of these, but there are a lot of myths out there about the modified calendar. So just to try to clear up some of that, there still is a 6-week summer break in the modified calendar. It's not doing away with the summer break at all. It's just taking a few of those weeks that we ordinarily get in the summer and putting them in the calendar throughout the year. There are 180 instructional days, just the exact same number of days that we have in a traditional calendar. The number of teacher contracted days remains the same. If you're on a 200-day contract currently, you would have a 200-day contract here. If you're on a 200-day contract plus 10 additional days because you have an additional duty, you would be on a 210-day contract for the year under this calendar. None of that would change. The YMCA of Pulaski has already expressed an interest in partnering with us to help with the childcare situation. It would probably be similar to how they've helped us on Wednesdays, and when we were going all virtual, they still offered childcare options on our facilities and at the Y. And so parents had that as a low-cost option for their students. Summer credit acquisition programs could be modified for so that some of the activities that can occur during the spring intersession, and utilizing the virtual component for those traditionally. Let's take Camp Cougar for the summer program, because that's really the one this would be most applicable to impacting. That they could do the health part either virtually before the summer program begins. It's traditionally a 4-week program. So they could try to get the health part taken care of virtual during that spring semester, or they could bring the students in a week during the intersession and get the health part out of the way and just schedule the physical activities for 2 weeks in the summer. So it's not, eating up, the teachers who work that aren't having their whole summer eaten up with a summer program, because this hopefully will help alleviate that. Approving a calendar change like this more than a year in advance would give employees and families time to make plans in accordance with future scheduled breaks. That was one of the things that I heard over and over again, that from people who liked the modified calendar but didn't want it for next year. If we're going to do this, let's go ahead and make the decision now. So looking forward to 22 and 23, we can make plans accordingly, knowing what we're going, what time we're going to have off. And finally, we're going to be working for the next 10 years to repair the damage that's been done over this past year and what will be a year and 3 months with COVID. And Pulaski County students are going to be in much better shape than a lot of other students in the state because of what you all have been able to accomplish this year and what we've done with getting students back in. But still, we have, over 20% of our students are on virtual. A lot of those students will be reintegrated into their class for into the face-to-face classes for next year, and we'll have to assess where everyone stands and develop plans for helping students get back on track. The modified calendar option has proven to be an effective solution for all students, but is especially beneficial for those who live in poverty or near poverty circumstances. It would be cost neutral or a near cost neutral way to address the deficits that have been created by COVID. So this has been a calendar that has been adopted all over the country, especially in high poverty areas, because it has proven to be so effective. It helps, some of the issues we talked about earlier with the food insecurity and providing remediation and support at different junctions throughout the year, instead of trying to work it all into the summer when a student is already so far behind that they may have lost, the belief in themselves that they can succeed. Okay, so with that, I will open it up for questions or comments, and following this, following the questions or comments, I will send out a 5-question survey to all of the elementary schools faculty and staff, and ask that they just take, it shouldn't take more than 3 or 4 minutes to fill it out and submit it, and we will provide that as feedback to the school board. So are there any questions or comments that anyone has?
Dr. Sears.
Yes.
One concern that I keep hearing a lot is the Volvo shutdown at the end of July and the beginning of August each year. And we have faculty that have spouses that work at Volvo, and then we have a large number of students that have parents that work at Volvo. And their concern was how they were going to factor in vacations and things throughout the year when spouses and parents are on vacation for those 2 weeks.
Yeah, I had not heard that, but that's something, we could discuss with Volvo. I don't know if there's a reason that they do that time of the year, or if they have some flexibility, or how that works. And I'm not sure what percentage of our parents are employed by Volvo, and how many of their employees, live in other districts, but we could have that conversation with them to see what options they're willing to explore.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have one about the Blue Weeks. Is that when you're talking about we could do like the summer school weeks, but have them in the school year? The one in October and the one in March.
Yes, the week of October 10th and the week of March the 27th would be, we would set up those weeks for enrichment and remediation. And that's when we would pay teachers to come in who want to come in and work that, similar to how we do summer school. And we would then have our summer program would probably be reduced to 1 week. So we're actually offering, a week in the fall, a week in the spring, and a week in the summer of remediation and enrichment. High school, it may work a little differently. It could work differently because their summer program is for credit recovery. But with all the virtual options we have now, I don't know that we would have to have a program where students would need to come in every day for a period of time in the summer. It could be where we bring them in, for a week and let them do a week virtual to recover a credit. We would have to work out those details.
Okay, and many of the questions that were brought to me are just the logistics of it. Are we going to run school buses for this? And elementary, especially because of childcare issues, is this for every kid, or is it teacher referral? How would that work?
You're talking about for the enrichment weeks? We would handle it the same way, similar to how we do summer school. We would probably look at the previous year's SOL scores, or some type of achievement score, and get input from the teachers. And it would not be for every kid. It would be for identified students who are falling behind.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Dr. Sears,
Yes.
are the enrichment weeks, are those part of the survey trying to gauge teacher interest in working those weeks?
No, we would do that. If this calendar were to be approved, then we would start working on how to schedule these weeks, and sending out information requests about who might be interested in doing 1 week or 2 weeks, or all 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Sears.
Hello.
I was asked to ask you about the children getting sort of back in line with school. If they're out this often, and then it takes so long, like after our breaks, it takes a while to get them back into their routine and back into what we were doing. And has that been considered, that if we're off in the 2 weeks that we're off, we've got to come back, and it's going to take a week to get back onto our routine, onto our schedule? And are we losing more time doing that?
That has not been brought up. I don't have a response to that particular question.
And maybe the big children can handle it. They were just asking me in the lower elementary grades.
Yeah. Okay. That would we would have to discuss how we want to handle that. I apologize. I don't really have an answer for that. We currently have breaks along those times with holidays and things. So I don't, other than the coming back in October after that fall break, I don't know that the number of return adjustments is all that many more than what we currently have. We just have longer breaks. The breaks are for a longer period of time, but they still are other than the one, the 2 weeks in October, everything else is pretty well when we would have a break anyway.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just take notes. They were just asking me about bringing back, they just had it in quotes, the younger children.
Yeah, I would be interested to hear more specifically what the concerns are, but that is something we can discuss and see if there are solutions to maybe lessen the impact of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Sears, I have a question about the 3-week break in March. Would SOL testing be pushed back because potentially 3 weeks out of school is a lot for kids to miss right before SOL testing?
Yes, with I imagine that SOL testing would probably occur, sometime between middle to late May before it would begin.
Okay.
We would just have to take a look at that, and every year there are bills being introduced to reduce the number of SOLs, and I keep hoping that eventually the General Assembly will get it right and reduce those and take a lot of needless pressure off of students and teachers and parents and everyone who was working through that. But I really thought it was going to fly this year, and it didn't. I was a little disappointed, but each year we continue to advocate for it, and I think I think other states are trending that way, and hopefully Virginia will follow suit, and we'll still have to do a standardized tests, but hopefully we can get the number reduced and get them all worked into maybe the last 2 weeks of school instead of having to start a month out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Sears, just something
Yes.
I thought worth consideration, sorry. Looking at the proposed calendar here, and I know you mentioned it was a suggestion, elementary teachers would be having their open house on the first day, potentially first work day, and that may be a challenge. We would feel like we needed to come in before that time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it would be on the second work day.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, that would, someone did mention that last week to see if that could be switched with secondary, and yeah, I mean, I think that was just put there, and because E comes before S, and I did it alphabetically, and there was no real thought put into how those were assigned.
That's okay. I understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you all very much for participating. I appreciate the questions and the feedback, and I will get the survey sent out here in the next few minutes, and please, take a couple minutes and fill it out, and we will present all of the feedback that is received to the school board so they can consider that when they make their decision about whether or not we want to move toward this type of calendar.
Dr. Sears,
Yes.
I apologize. How long will the survey be open for teachers to take it?
I will probably just leave it open for this afternoon. Our goal is to get informed feedback. There were so many rumors going around, and people who had misinformation, and were, what we would like to capture is feedback from the folks who participated in this or who watched it on our YouTube channel. We can't control for all of that, but we really want people to know what they're giving feedback on, and not be providing feedback on rumors or misperceptions that were out there. And we recognize, there are there's a downside to going this route, and there are a number of benefits to going this route. And ultimately, that's what the board will have to decide on, is do the benefits outweigh the negative impact that this may have in some areas of our community. It's seems to be the best thing to do for our kids, which is why I recommended it. But also, I do so with the understanding that there are issues that would have to be worked through if we are going to adopt a calendar such as this. Any other questions? Okay, thank you all. I appreciate it.